So a couple weeks ago, I had the opportunity to go to Rose City Comic Con, and it was so much fun. It's my favorite convention of the year. But this time around, I wanted to wear something that I could walk around in and wear comfortably and sweat in because it was 95 degrees in Portland, Oregon. And so I opted for April O'Neil from the 1990s Ninja Turtles cartoon, and then San from Princess Mononoke, two costumes that I made. And I had a blast. It was so much fun. And it really reminded me of how much I just enjoy cosplaying, like how much fun it is to put this costume on, just go nerd out with your best friends, and then have a blast. So I've been thinking that I need to expand my floor cosplay wardrobe, and with Nostromo coming out this year, I feel like this is the moment to make an Ellen Ripley cosplay, right? Like, she's the OG badass space girly fighting monsters, and I think I need Ripley to get into the rotation of cosplays that I'm wearing regularly. My favorite iteration of Ripley is from Aliens, the second movie in the 90s, with the big Queen Xenomorph and the Space Marines and the pulse rifles, and I just feel like it's the epitome of who Ellen Ripley is on the inside. And I bought something. I found an Ellen Ripley figure to use as a reference for this cosplay, and it even came with accessories. And I'm super stoked about this because I think this is the perfect costume to spend a little bit of time bringing to life. And I have a plan. When I look at Ellen Ripley's costume here, I see four major components. I see the pants, the top, which is like the shirt, the suspenders, the bandolier, the alien stompers that she wears, those iconic Reebok sneakers, and then the M41A pulse rifle that's duct taped to a flamethrower, like classic Ripley badassery. And I think these are really achievable components to make. For this costume, I have three goals that I really want to work towards. The first is to be tidy, and that's probably going to come in the pants and in the bandolier. My second goal is to really spend some time weathering things up. I have been critiqued in the past in a very kind way. It actually makes my heart smile a lot, but my costumes have been critiqued as being very clean, and it's actually such a compliment. But that's not Ellen Ripley in the scene when she's fighting the Queen Xenomorph. I mean, she has been through it. She has been hanging out with Space Marines. She has been crawling through a terraforming station. She even spent some time in garbage to help a small child. So it's not gonna be a clean costume. It's gotta be weathered and grimy and bloody and sweaty and dirty. And I don't do that very well. So I'm gonna try to do better. And then my third goal is often one that is on my list, which is don't sweat the small stuff. And I think that will help me really find a lot of joy in this process, which I generally do anyways. And along the way, if there are moments to get some knickknacks involved, I am all for it. This is my new workspace, my new studio, recently moved, and it's awesome, but it is a little bit echoey because there's all this blank wall space. There's a door over there, but that to me is just like a place to hide more treasures. And as the moment an opportunity arises to do some art or make some little sculptures or to sew or construct some dupes that I can wear in my everyday life, like when I'm grocery shopping, I totally want to seize those because I think that's a ton of fun to do alongside projects you're working on. So I want to start this cosplay by working on Ripley's pants. And I've done a little bit of research on this. I didn't know this, but Ripley actually wears a flight suit in the Aliens movie that is inspired by actual flight suits that Air Force pilots wear, which is really cool. By the time she gets to the end when she's fighting the Queen Xenomorph, the top has disappeared, rolled off, I don't know. It's mostly just the pants. So that's all I'm going to sew because that's easier. And the trousers, I've got a pattern that I really trust that I'll talk about a little bit later. So it's actually kind of cool, these utility pants, because the costumers modified them slightly. They created welted pockets for the side pockets, there's a bunch of zippered utility pockets, and there's even zippered ankle gussets. And I found some fabric that I'm excited to use that doesn't look anything like what the actual fabric of the pants should be. I had a really hard time color matching, so I decided to go with a fabric that I have used in the past. This is 100% cotton twill from Joann Fabrics, and I've used it, I've dyed it in the past, and it takes to dye really, really well. So our next step is to get this into the washing machine and get it clean and saturated. And while it's doing that, I'm gonna start boiling some water to fill my kitchen sink so that I can let this sit for a good hour, just like soaking up the dye. And then after that, we'll use a color stay fixative, wash it again, and then press it, and it should be ready for patterning. My fabric is dyed. I gotta tell you, I was a little worried that it had gone a little bit too dark, but I actually quite love this color. Here is my model. It's not as light as what the reference photos are, but I'm not angry at it because I would prefer to wear darker bottoms than I would like baby icy blue. So this is actually kind of perfect. I cheated the system a little bit. And you know you always roll the dice when you do that, when you're dyeing fabric. So now I want to move on to actually cutting out my pattern pieces. And the pattern I'm going to be using is this Lander pattern by True Bias. I really love this pattern. I've used it for a couple of different cosplays really successfully, and there are some standout features. If you haven't checked it out, it's kind of worth at least a perusal. It's got a really high waist, which is really easy to adjust for your height. And I trade out the button fly for a zipper fly. They even have an expansion pack that you can do that very easily. I have already mocked this up. So I have my mock-up pattern pieces, and I've made some small changes to it. In addition to what I already talked about, I took the wide leg and I straightened it a little bit. I made sure that the size was fit for my body. And now it's just a matter of transferring this over to the fabric that we have pressed and ready to go. So I'm gonna get started on that. So I've got all my pieces pinned, and there's the back leg, the front leg, waistband, belt loops, fly zip, one set of pockets. I'm gonna need to cut these out a couple more times, and I don't have anything for the zippered ankle gusset yet. I figure that's something I'm gonna have to kind of engineer on the spot. There's not a lot of tutorials out there about it, so I'm gonna figure it out. My next step is gonna be to cut all these pieces out to get a couple extra pockets cut out as well. And then I always buy a little bit extra fabric just in case I need to redo something or add to it. And I know I'm gonna need to add some more elements to this. So that's something that I figured I would engineer as I put it together. So let's cut it out. A little itty bitty pause because I need to do some thinking before I do some cutting. I do try to listen occasionally to the measure twice, cut once mantra, but where I'm struggling is thinking about the geometry of the pockets. So I've got a couple of different pockets here. I've got some just straight up rectangle pockets that I know are going to be the back pockets because that is genuinely how the pattern calls for the pocket to be cut. And then I have from the pattern the front pocket, which is really cute, but it's meant to be on the outside, like an outside patch pocket. And Ripley doesn't have an outside patch pocket. She has a welt pocket on her side seam. And so when I think about how I want to line that, it's gonna be important how it's anchored as well, because if it's just sitting in the middle of a piece of fabric, it might pull on it. So I need to think about how I want to anchor it into the waistband. And then for the rest of the utility pockets, they have zippers going vertically and horizontally and all these different which ways and whatnots. And I need to figure out geometrically how to get those zippers into those pieces, hi bud, so that the pockets look symmetrical, but they also have zippers going which way they want to go. So I might call it a night and let the geometry simmer for a little bit and come back in the morning, cut my pieces, and start prepping my pockets and my pants for sewing. Okay, we're back. I had some sleep and some time to think and some caffeine this morning. We've got some new space buns with some friends to join us, and I'm ready to get started working on these pants. There was some challenges. Pants are actually pretty easy to assemble, but with these ones, because they're utility pants, there are pockets everywhere. And so I needed to figure out how those pockets are going to come together. I've got my pieces assembled here on the table, kind of how I expect them to come together. So there's the back of the pants, the front of the pants, the zipper fly, the waistband, and belt loop fabric. And then I've got my pocket pieces. And those are the ones that I really had to like sit down and kind of think about, well, if the zipper is horizontal, what's that gonna look like? If it's vertical, what's it gonna look like? But the ones that really were tough, and we'll see how this works in practice, were the side welt pockets. Those side pockets you put your hands into, like these ones right here. I've not sewn those before. I know I want to anchor them along the sides and the top of the pants so that they don't pull on the fabric and tear it. I think this is the type of shape that's gonna work. I did a little bit of research to see what other people were doing out there, and this looked pretty standard. So I cut it out of some kind of silky polyester muslin-y type fabric I had lying around in my stash. And I'm willing to give it a shot. If it doesn't work, we unstitch it, we unpick that seam, and then we try it again. So my next step is to start to prep. I'm gonna start with the back pockets, and then I'm gonna work on the patch pockets. And then I'm gonna start to serge some elements together. That's Danny. She's here to help me this morning. She's a good helper. So let's get started. So I thought I'd take a moment to talk about how I'm making these zippered patch pockets, because looking at my pattern doesn't necessarily explain much of what's going on. This is one that has a zipper along the top, so it's a horizontal zipper patch pocket. And these are like the ones that you would find in normal cargo pants. It's nothing really special. But I start by taking these, oh, it should be this way, taking these two pieces and I sew them together. These are the wrong sides, and it's a basted seam. And then I've gone and I've top stitched that so it's got a nice crisp edge. And what I'll do next is I'll take this zipper and just stitch it facing right side, like right side to wrong side. I'll stitch it on this side to get a nice clean line, and then undo the basting seam. So you wind up with this zippered patch pocket that has a nice little like flap covering it up. It's pretty close to what was in the movie, what the pockets look like, but it's just really easy and I really like the process. And then when we flip it over, we can see there it's been stitched down, and I've turned the edges and I just tacked each of these over until I attach these to the pants and kind of like firm everything up. Okay, it took all day, but I finally have all the pieces prepped for these pants, which are actually pretty easy to sew once you have everything within arm's reach. So I started out by making sure all my raw edges are serged on the legs and in the crotch. And I also prepped my zipper fly pieces so that will be a really quick installation once I get things up and running. My pockets are mostly just patch pockets, which means you just like stick them on the pant and sew around the perimeter. So those have all been turned. That way I can just place them, stitch them, and move on with my life. And I even went ahead and prepped the waistband and belt loop. So when we get to that point, it should be really easy to just almost like bias tape, sew it on, turn it over, top stitch it down. The only two pieces I'm kind of waiting to see what Future Christy does with are the welt pocket and the zippered ankle gusset. And I've never installed either of those things into clothes before, so we're just gonna have to see how that plays out. But I have an order of operations in mind on when those things can be tackled. So now it's really just a matter of like getting to it. So let's do that thing. Good morning. We got some stuff to do today. I spent the night thinking about how I want to put everything together, because order of operations is kind of important in this, just to get everything placed right and to stay tidy. And my personal beef is that I hate hand sewing, so I want to make sure that I always have access to be able to do machine stitching with all the different parts and pieces on the pants. So I'm going to start by installing the back patch pockets. And this is pretty simple because it's just, all I have to do is transfer the pattern to the back of the pockets, place the pockets themselves, pin them in place, and then stitch along their perimeters, and pockets will be installed. Then I'm going to tackle the welt pockets. And this is the first time I've installed a pocket like this. So I've watched some tutorials. I wouldn't call myself an expert, but maybe like an educated experimenter. I'm gonna transfer the welt pocket pattern to the front of the pant. And then I'm also gonna put in the little welt flappy, and then put the lining on top and stitch around the opening where the pocket is supposed to go. And then I can turn everything in, press it, and attach the inner pocket lining to the lining that I just sewed onto the pants pocket. That totally makes sense. I don't know why anyone would be confused by this. And then I'll do some top stitching to like secure everything in place and clean it up. And then after the back pockets and the welt pockets are installed, it'll be time to install the zipper fly. And I don't know how to do that off the top of my head. I followed this tutorial. I've used it a couple of times. It's amazing. It's really simple. It's a great quick zipper fly installation. I love it, so I'm gonna use it. After I've got the zipper fly in place, the welt pockets, the back patch pockets. Then I'll install the front patch pockets. And on the vinyl figure and in reference photos, these are not matchy-matchy. So when I place them, I just need to make sure that they are lined up across the top and placed in the same area on the front leg pant. And then I can pin them, stitch around the perimeter. Love patch pockets for this reason. Then it'll be time to sew up the side seams, and that will give me a chance to install the next set of patch pockets, which just need to get placed, pinned, and stitched around the perimeter. And then future Christy is gonna figure out how to install that ankle gusset, which I'm sure is actually not the name for it. So let me know what it's supposed to be called in the comments. She's smart. Future Christy's a smart lady, so I'm sure she'll be able to figure that out. I think I have a solution to this ankle gusset problem was what I was calling it, but I think it's called a godette. Tell me how to say that in the comments. I had to get the lower pockets placed over the seam, the outer leg seam, and to be able to figure this part out, but I've got some pieces patterned. So there's this inner kind of triangle, that's what I was thinking was the gusset. And I guess you put the zipper on the outside of it first, and then you use a facing that you stitch on the right sides, turn it under, and then apply this just to the finished edges. And then in Ellen Ripley's costume, she also has like these kind of finishing edge pieces. So I'm gonna give it a try and see how it turns out on one leg, and then I'll try it on the next leg and see if I need to make any changes between what I think is gonna work and the final product. It's time to finish sewing these pants. So I'm gonna sew the inner leg seam and spend a little bit of time reinforcing the bum with a top stitch that runs from the front all the way to the back. The final element is the waistband, and that's installed just like bias tape. There's some pinning to place the belt loops, and then I'll sew the waistband to the top of the pants and make sure that I keep the edges aligned the entire way through. To get a nice finished crisp edge, I'm going to turn everything inside out and then carefully stitch in the ditch to secure the inner edge. And then along the way, I'll reinforce the belt loops. And the pants are done with pockets and legs in an actual working zipper fly. Okay, welcome to the guest bathroom. This is the only place I have a big mirror because they are portals to an evil realm, so I keep them minimal. Fit check. I am pretty happy with the fit of these pants. I think they look really good. Danny is down here about to agree and hop up into the shot. They don't have a button on the fly yet, so I need to install that. And I am wearing shapewear underneath. I always do with my costumes, just so that it kind of like tightens everything up. The waistband is a little bit loose, and some of you out there might be like, this doesn't fit, Christy. I prefer my pants loose. I'm gonna tuck stuff in, I'm gonna belt it. If it gets too tight here with the natural material, I'll get an upset tummy. So I think this is actually perfect. I'm really happy with this because it's flattering on the back side. The pockets look really good. There is a lot of stuff going on with these pants. The welt pockets, the zippered patch pockets, the zippered godets. I don't know, someone help me out with how to say that. Yeah, I think I'm actually pretty happy with this. I think we're ready to move on to the next step. The pants are assembled. Finally, there were like 1,000 pockets and zippers and engineering and top stitching, but it's done. I like the fit, I'm pretty happy with it, and now I have to do the scary thing, which is ruin them because they're nice and clean. I mean, I never clip any of my stray threads, but I'll do that. And now I gotta go cover them with gross looking paint, and that doesn't break my heart. So it is one of my goals, though. I'm going to hold true to it. And Ellen Ripley is not in a clean state when she faces off with the Queen Xenomorph at the end of the Aliens movie. So I need to grime this up. And I have a plan. I always have a plan. I'm going to use my airbrush, which I am so-so at. I'm not great, but I'm getting better. And I'm going to start by just going along all the lines and darkening them to get some contrast. And we'll see after that heartbreak how I feel about maybe doing some dry brushing with some regular old dark brown acrylic paint. The day is young, so let's go wreck some things. Oh, wow. Welcome to the garage. It's enormous, but true story. I got about 7/8 of the way through unpacking this house and I just gave up. So this is where all the stuff is, and I'm going to have to spend a little bit of time cleaning before we can actually make our way to the airbrush. Excited for some new furniture though, working on refinishing that. Should be done soon. All my clothes will be off the floor, that's great. But, oy vey. All right, let's get started. Internet, we're friends, aren't we? For I hath emerged in my truest form. A baggy t-shirt, biking shorts. Today they match, which is a pretty big win for me. We're gonna do some airbrushing. Get these really gross. I didn't actually clip any of the threads like I said I was going to, so that's probably the first thing I should do. And then I think I'm just gonna clip them up on here and get to spraying. Real janky style. That's kind of how I roll. So let's get started. Let's get this thing figured out. Oh, I don't know, friends. I don't think it's that I don't like weathering. I think I'm just not very good at it. But they're dirty looking. I wouldn't put these pants on. I would put them in the wash. So maybe that's okay. It's a little stark right now. Hopefully when you get the whole effect, it looks a little more battle-worn. Oh my gosh. Can we talk about the thread roulette that I was just playing? Because she was getting close.